presentation uh, is to, I'm going to turn this projector off too. And again, these will just be practical tools that you can take and apply. And what I would say is that I am not a licensed healthcare practitioner, and so I would put a disclaimer out there. You are practicing these things at your own risk. You're fully choosing to do so by yourself. I'm not claiming that anything will or will not happen as a result of you deciding to do these things for yourself and on your own. But it's just something that I learned, and this is for informational purposes only. If you have any previously existing medical conditions, I strongly suggest that you get with your licensed medical practitioner before trying any of these things. I am only here demonstrating them. If you decide to do them as well, that is your choice to do so. I am not responsible or liable for anything good or bad that comes as a result. Everybody understand?
Yes.
Sure. I didn't hear it. So I would take those who did not say anything to be an affirmation. So silence is affirming as well. I didn't get caught up in that either. So even if you didn't say something, you're agreeing if you decide to practice. I made the disclaimer. But breathing. I mentioned different rates of breathing before. And the whole idea of breathing can be broken down into three stages. You've got the inhale part of a breath, you've got the exhale part of the breath, and then you've also got a way to hold your breath. And so there are two different ways you can hold your breath. You can hold your breath empty, meaning you hold after an exhale, or you can hold your breath full when you hold after an inhale. Get it? So like everybody take a deep breath. Just breathe in. Well, don't if you want to. So here, I'll demonstrate it for you. So I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to hold my breath. That's holding full. And then I exhale. And if I hold after exhale, that's holding empty. Right? So that's what I mean by holding full and holding empty. But you have the inhale, you have the exhale, and you have holding. Those are three aspects of breathing. And so one breath consists of an inhale and once you exhale. Now, if you hold in between the inhale and the exhale, that's still a part of the breath. If you hold after the exhale, that's still a part of the breath, okay? And so when I talked about the different variations of breathing, the different rates of breathing, it's usually based upon how long your inhale takes, how long you hold your breath, and how long the exhale takes. And if you hold the breath empty as well, all right? So what I'm going to first do is show you all a rate of breathing that is, it gives you 4 breaths per minute. All right, so 4 breaths per minute rate of breathing. And posture is very important when it comes to breathing as well. People tell people to do different postures. One of the basic ones is having your feet flat on the ground, having your back, as erect and straight as possible. Hands usually relaxed on your knees, very relaxed body posture. And what I do for the 4 breaths per minute rate is I'll inhale for 5 seconds. I'll hold my breath for 5 seconds. And then I'll exhale for 5 seconds. And that's the completion of one breath. And that one breath took me 15 seconds. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds holding, 5 seconds exhale. And as soon as I finish exhaling for those 5 seconds, then what I do is I'll begin to breathe in again for 5 seconds. Right? And so what happens is that each breath takes 15 seconds. And so that means that 4 breaths will equal 60 seconds or a minute. So that's the rate of 4 seconds per minute. Right? And I'll turn on my counter. And my stopwatch so that I can rate this, do my rates per minute. Okay, so what I'll begin to do is let me inhale, I'm going to exhale, then I'm going to start. I'm beginning. So 2 breaths took me 30 seconds. All right? And all I did is I watched my clock. So I inhale, got to 5 seconds. I held from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Then I exhale from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. And so here's a guide. I guide anybody who wants to try it for themselves. Take a deep breath in, exhale out, and then begin. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, relax and just breathe as you would. And so that's the rate of four breaths per minute. So you can do that for a whole minute. Again, inhale for 5 seconds, hold your breath for 5 seconds, exhale for 5 seconds, and then begin to inhale again for another 5 seconds. So when I say inhale for 5 seconds, you're literally expanding your inhalation for 5 seconds. So it's going to take you 5 seconds to inhale fully. So it's like, then I'm holding. Then I'm exhaling slowly. So I'm stretching my exhale across the whole span of 5 seconds. Then there's some who add that fourth part of the breath where you're holding empty. And so if I wanted to change that rate of breathing simply to 3 breaths per minute, so going from 4 breaths a minute to 3 breaths per minute, it means that each breath is going to take it's going to take 20 seconds, right? You got 3 sets of 20 seconds and 60 seconds. So there's 2 ways you can do that. I'll show y'all the way where you add the empty hold. So you got the full hold, and then you got the empty hold. Somebody who got a stopwatch on their clock, on their phone, do the timing for me, or y'all can follow along with it. And so what you would do is, okay, good. And so what you do is, when you start it, you'll say inhale, and then once it gets to the 5 seconds, you'll say hold, and you can count for me. And then you can say, well, you don't have to, I'll be counting in my head. Then when it's time to exhale, say exhale at the 15-second mark. Mm-hmm. No, that should be, so it should be inhale at 0, hold at 5, exhale at 10. And then at 15, you'll say hold again, because I'm holding empty now. Then at the 20-second mark, it starts to cycle again, okay? Okay, so I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'll be ready. When you say go.
Go. Hold. Release. Hold. Release.
Just inhale.
Right.
Should be exhale.
I'm sorry.
But it's going to be a cycle of inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. Sounds like that Kendrick Lamar. Wake up, drink. So, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. And you change every 5 seconds. And that's the cycle. And if you do 3 of those breaths, it's going to take an entire minute to do 3 of those breaths. And so if I wanted to change the rate of breathing without the empty hold, then what you do is you would just increase the 3 steps. So instead of inhaling for 5 seconds, it's going to take me 10 seconds to inhale 1 breath, which means that I got to slow down my rate of breathing and regulate the amount of air I'm bringing in because I need it to last for 10 seconds. So I can fill up my lungs like that quick, or I can fill up my lungs in that much time. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it's a rate of breathing, meaning how long it takes you to fill up your lung capacity. You can do it quickly, or you can slow it down to where it takes more time to actually do it. And then once I get there, 10 seconds to fill up my lungs, then I got to hold it for 10 seconds now instead of 5 seconds. So now I'm holding for 10 seconds. And now here comes this. Most people say that this is the toughest part of it, is slowly exhaling. Because if you've held it that long, it's almost like pressure's building up. You want to let it all out at once. But you want to regulate how long you actually take to exhale the breath. And all of this is breath control. Because remember, breathing is automatic, but it's one of the few automatic processes that you have that you can intentionally and consciously manipulate too, right? And so I'll demonstrate one breath to take 30 seconds, all right? Just because I want to push. So it's going to be inhale at 0, hold at 10, exhale at 20, okay? And so, and I'll show y'all the mechanics behind breathing after we get through this rate part. So I'll say go. So I'm going to inhale. I'll just point to you. Go.
Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale.
So that was one breath in 30 seconds. And after doing that, it's a couple of things that happens. Is that psychologically, you're fighting against that anxiety of not, needing to take another breath, because that's part of it. You hold your breath for too long, you start. It's like if you're in the pool and you go all the way down to the bottom. It's like the closer you get to the surface, some people start to panic more and don't want to breathe in before it's too late. Am I going to make it before my breath run out? But being able to control your breathing like this, it allows you to maintain a certain level of psychological steadiness and calmness, right? Because what it does is you get used to holding your breath. You get used to breathing slowly. And one of the practical applications to it, let's say if you, God forbid, you're ever in a burning building, right? And, smoke inhalation is what kills a lot of people that are caught up in fires. And if you've got the ability to control and regulate your breath and you've been practicing that, before you make a run out of the room that you're in to run through a smoke-filled environment, you can breathe in slowly and fill your lung capacity. And then you learn how to hold your breath now, and you can get through the smoke without necessarily having to take another breath, because now you know that breathing is what? Broken down into 3 components. It's an inhale, it's a hold, and it's an exhale. So now you've regulated your breathing by inhaling, and now okay, so I can inhale for 10 seconds, I filled up my lung capacity, and now I can hold my breath for at least 10 seconds as I run through this space. And not only that, I've got another 10 seconds of exhaling before I need to breathe in again. Or if you practice the 4 phases, which is an empty hold, you've just bought yourself 30 seconds before you need to take your next inhale. That's how you can practically apply that. That's where it translates into real world benefit, to where I can inhale and fill my lung capacity, and because I'm used to it, I can also now hold it for this long, take this long to finally exhale, and hold empty before I need to take in another breath. Something less dire than that situation. Let's say you stuck behind a funky trash truck, garbage truck on a 90-degree day. Hot garbage stank. And you see that you stuck behind this hot garbage truck for a couple of blocks, or at least until you get to the next corner that you can turn. So now I can inhale and hold my breath until I get out the way of that. Another way you can use it, if somebody got exhaust fumes coming out the back of their car, and you don't want to breathe in those exhaust fumes, you inhale before you get up behind them, and now you can hold your breath, exhale slowly, hold empty until you can get clear of that. It's very much real-world practical benefits beyond just how it regulates and changes your body energetically for the purposes of meditation. Some of the mechanics. A lot of times we've been taught to meditate or to breathe wrong. We think we're supposed to inhale, and our chest is supposed to rise when you inhale. But if you all watch a baby sleeping on their back, and when they inhale, which part of their body is moving? How do you know that they're breathing? When you look at the baby, you need to know if they're breathing. How do you know that they just took a breath in? The stomach, right? The abdomen expands. So they breathe, they go. And when they exhale, the abdomen drops. That's the proper way of breathing, not chest breathing, right? That's short. That reduces your lung capacity. But if you revert to breathing and extending your stomach when you inhale, you lower the diaphragm drops, and you allow for more the use of more lung capacity. So when you inhale, you push your stomach out. When you exhale, you pull it in. Right, so that's one aspect. Another aspect, so there's levels to it. Another aspect is, we call it the tongue connection. and it's completing a particular energetic circuit in your body. If you put your tongue right behind your teeth to where it's touching, where your gums and your teeth meet, the backside of it, just put your tongue on the back of your teeth, your top teeth. That completes a circuit. that completes an energetic circuit. That's ancient Taoist philosophy or science. Another thing is that you can do is, of course, the posture that I've already spoken about. But the other thing is, you close your eyes, and if you look at this point right between your eyebrows, you should feel like a tingle sensation in your eyes or in your head. If you focus your eyes on that point. And the importance of focusing on that point is multi-level. One, it gives you a singular point of focus, but also when you're doing your visualization, you can project a movie screen right there. And so what you're visualizing, you can actually see it on that screen. So you can see that there's a movie screen that you're looking at there, and then you can put the images that you are going to visualize when we get to the visualization part onto that screen. So I'll give us a simple exercise when we get to that. Any question about the breathing part? All right, so for those who want to, we could practice, we'll do a minute of 3 breaths per minute breathing, which is inhaling for 5 seconds, holding your breath for 5 seconds, and exhaling for 5 seconds. And after the 5 seconds, you go right back into inhaling for 5 more seconds. And what I'll do is I'll count it out for you. And so we'll do 1 minute of that. And I want you to pay attention to if you feel any type of difference in your body. Okay? Any questions? All right. Everybody breathe in. Breathe out. And then we'll begin. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Holding. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Okay. Take 3 deep breaths. Yes.
When we breathe out, are we going from the top to the bottom, or the bottom to the top of the belly?
Bottom to the top. Because what's happening is, as you breathe out, remember you're pulling your stomach in. So it's naturally going to push it up from the bottom. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You got a question? No? All right, well, if you do, let me know. That's the exhale. So that was the rate of 4 breaths per minute. You took 4 breaths, and it took you a minute to do it. So remember that philosophy that says you only have a limited number of breaths that you can take in your life. Mm-hmm. So if you think about how we usually breathe, it's very shallow. And it's relatively rapid. So most of the time we ain't counting our breaths. We just living our life and breathing shallow, however many breaths is. And that's a part of the reason why, the addiction of like smoking cigarettes is not just the nicotine, but it's also the rate of breathing. It's a very relaxing. Most of the time people don't control their breathing unless they're smoking. So it's a cigarette. If it's a cigarette, it's doing whatever it is, it's long, deep inhale. You hold. Unless it's that top shelf and you choke it when you're coughing. But if you can hold it, you breathe in, you hold, and then you let it out slow. And that's simply a relaxation technique. It's the same science, but it's substance with it. And with the substance with it, you have the chemical alteration at the same time. Yes, sir. Say it again. How do we breathe? It's a great question. So breathe automatically. Right? You don't have to think about it to breathe, right? Your body automatically does it, right? It's because your body knows that you need your breath to survive. And so the way that we can make ourselves breathe is you just think. So like take a deep breath, go. Right? And then you go. Right? And so you've got nerves that come from your brain that, you know, the vagus nerve actually comes straight from the brain to the diaphragm and certain organs in your chest cavity. I can't think of which one specifically, so I'm quoting. But then you tell your brain says, lungs, do what you got to do to inhale. And the nerves are connected to your muscles. And the muscles pull, and it gives you more space. And the more space you have, the more air you can take into your lungs. And then say, all right, breathe out. And then the muscles contract, and it squeezes the lungs and it pushes the air out. The diaphragm comes up and it pushes the air out. That's a part of how you breathe. But there's more to it than that. That's what I can say. Cool? Good thing we could breathe, right? Because if we couldn't, we wouldn't be here. Anybody anything else? Great question. All right, so that's that. That's the breathing part. Anybody, did y'all feel anything different when you were breathing? Anybody notice any change? Anything?
Yes.
What'd you experience?
I felt very relaxed.
Relaxed.
Yeah.
So any particular area of relaxation, or just overall?
Just whole body.
Okay. Anybody anything else?
I felt tension release from my shoulders.
Okay, so your shoulders relaxed, the tension left. It's really interesting because every emotional state has a particular rate of breathing that goes with it. So when you're angry, you know, sad, if you cry, can't hardly get a breath in, right? Happy, you know, if you're laughing, you know, it's different rates of breathing. And so knowing that, you can manipulate your emotional state by changing your rate of breathing, by controlling your breathing, because you stop the automatic going into a place of emotion by regulating the breathing. It's very difficult to be overcome with anger and to be breathing slowly and intentionally at the same time. You can still have the same energy of anger. If you look at emotions, it's literally emotion. It's energy that moves. And so if you're controlling the energy by controlling your rate of breathing, then you disrupt the conditioned interpretation of that energy. So you feel this way, so now I'm mad. You just automatically think this means that you're mad. So what you do is you disrupt that by taking on the rate of breathing, which then moves the energy in a direction of your choosing. So rather than energy manifesting as anger for you, it now manifests as cool, calm, and collected insight. You automatically elevate yourself from the automatic conditioned creature to a more human and or divine aspect of yourself that now says, this is an emotion, it's a tool that I can use. That's the person in the robbery that stays calm, stays controlled and regulated, who can now figure their way out of the situation as opposed to feeding into the energy that's being imposed upon them. So that's the breathing part. Now we're going to combine the breathing with counting. Just anything jumping in there and using that energy. More emotional control. If you want to control over anger, your anger, then what happens is your anger wants to maintain control. So it's going to fight you for that control. And so when you're trying to calm down, I'm not going to be angry anymore, anger is going to try to seep in. It's going to use a memory of something that you're really mad about, something that you were done wrong, is going to try to seep in there so that you can continue to fuel it, so it can stay alive. It wants to survive, believe it or not. But that's why things, we call them like ruminating thoughts, intrusive thoughts. That's why those things show up, because they want to survive. They need to survive. And they're going to survive by maintaining connection with your life force, maintaining connection with your consciousness. And so by counting, you're blocking any other verbal thoughts from coming into your mind. So what I want you to do at your own pace, count to 5 with your inhale, count to 5 while you're holding your breath, and count to 5 while you're exhaling. And this is the exercise of using the verbal thinking along with your breath. So feel free, have at it. So those are the first two tools of meditation, according to this particular system. The breathing and the verbal thinking. And then the third one, who remembers what the third aspect was?
Visual.
Yep, visualization. Yep. And so that's imagination. And people have different levels in which they're able to imagine things or visualize things. Some people say that they cannot, and I believe people who say that. But I still encourage people who think that they cannot imagine or know that they cannot to develop the ability to do it. It's a natural human function. It's a gift. And the better you are with imagining things and being able to visualize things, the more effective your meditation can become. So without combining it with breathing and the verbal thinking, everybody tried to imagine a flower. So meaning you just want to visualize a flower. Let's be specific. Let me help be more specific. A bouquet of yellow roses. So close your eyes and see if you can see a bouquet of yellow roses. See if you can imagine a bouquet of yellow roses. Now, once you're able to imagine what it looks like, there's another level to the game. Can you imagine what it smells like? Like imagine having a 24 yellow roses pressed up against your face right now. And you're inhaling through 24 yellow roses. Just smell those roses. And not only smelling them, but do you feel the petals on your face? Can you imagine what it feels like to have rose petals pressed against your face? It's kind of cool. It's like a cool sensation. Now, it's easy for me to do that because I've actually had 24 yellow roses pressed against my face and breathed through it. And so the more connected your imaginings are to your real world experiences, the more likely you're able to actually manifest that as an imagining, right? But then also, if you practice with things that you've actually done before, then it strengthens your ability to come up with things that you haven't done before, right? Which is along the lines of the manifestation part. You want to manifest something that you have never done, have never experienced before. But it takes your ability to have your imagination skills up in order to bring in things that you've never done before in order to make them real, right? So is anybody not able to see the roses? Okay. Say it again.
I did not.
Okay. What did you see instead?
Jeez, I can't say I saw anything. I just saw red.
You saw red. Okay. Are you typically able to imagine anything?
I am.
Okay. So pick something that you can imagine and imagine it real quick.
Ooh.
What is it that you're visualizing? Uh-oh. Dang, I ain't know what to tell y'all.
Oh my goodness gracious, a face.
Say it again.
A face?
Of a particular person?
Yes.
Okay, so keep that person's face. Can you imagine what they smell like? Whether it's a cologne, their hair, their breath, cigar. And if not, can you? Can you?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you imagine their voice and what it sounds like? Now, here's something that they've said to you. You can't hear them? Okay, that's cool. But that's the part, that's the imagination part. That's the visualization part. Of course, the visualization is you just seeing it, but the imagining or the imaging,
Right, and I can sense. Yeah.
you can smell it. So that's the imaging part. The imagining part is where you can take other aspects of it and experience it in your internal world, right? And that's the goal, right? You want to be able to, while we're breathing and controlling our life force energies, one of the things that happens sometimes when you're doing those rates of breathing is that you can feel yourself getting hot. Mm-hmm. Your body temperature can increase. I've often described it as humidity. I feel like I get humid all of a sudden. It's like my temperature rises, and I feel like a level of sweat. I'm not profusely sweating, but I can feel the temperature rise. So when you manipulate your life force through breathing, and you add the verbal thinking, either as a protective factor, you're counting, or you're actually using a mantra that's in line with what it is that you're trying to manifest. You know, I got a million, gazillion, billion bucks. It's coming to me within a matter of days. I got a million, gazillion, billion bucks. It's coming to me in a matter of days. Whatever, that's your mantra. And then the visualization, let's say if I'm trying to manifest money, and I need some money for a particular thing. I may not want to put a dollar amount on it, but I may want to have my verbal mantra be something like, I have all of the financial resources I need to accomplish all the goals that are in front of me. That might be my verbal. I have all the money. I have all the resources that I need to deal with whatever is in front of me, all my goals in front of me. And then I see myself. The visual could be, I see myself writing checks, or I see myself handing cash over for whatever it is in exchange for whatever it is I'm trying to receive. That becomes what I visualize and I imagine. So I'm sitting here, I combine my breathing, and I understand that my breathing is for the purpose of generating the energy that I'm going to direct towards whatever it is that I'm trying to manifest for myself. Even if it's just relaxation, then I'm breathing, understanding that my breath relaxes me. And so I'm breathing, let's stick with relaxation. I'm breathing, and then the verbal is, my body is relaxed, totally relaxed. My body is, and see, you gotta be very careful, because if I say something like my body is free from tension, I no longer have tension, then what I'm also doing is incorporating tension into my verbalization. So you gotta be careful. You can do that as long as you have a control over yourself like that. You have to worry about feeding tension. You're clear that you're feeding relaxation. And so I just say something like my body is super relaxed, as relaxed as if I was laying on pillows of clouds. My body is in this total state of surrender. My body is in an optimal, healthy state, right? Whatever you want to do. So that would be the verbal thing. And then I would literally visualize myself, maybe just like limp and floating, right? Or getting the body, just getting full body massage. I just see myself, that could be my visual, deep tissue massage. I'm just getting massaged up. And I'm just like, just putty, right? That could be the visual. So you got the breathing, you've got the verbal, and you got the visual all working together to be one complete meditation. And you can take that and you can do it for as long as you want to, or a short amount of time as you want to. But it's about being efficient and effective with it, meaning that you're doing it, protecting your mind and your thoughts, you're doing it in a space that, that's free from distractions, or as much as you need freedom from distraction. And you're doing it with full intention and understanding that all of these things are working together towards the one goal and the one outcome. The breathing, verbal thinking, either as a protective factor or a mantra to manifest, and then the visualization. The other thing is when I was talking about the tree of life and the mantras there are sounds that are used. Om is one of them. You've got one for each one of those spheres that I learned dealing with the Kemetic version of it. So you got all the different mantras that we use in our chants to help to manifest. The one thing that was with Sebek was Ayin. So it's Ayin. So if I'm looking for like a parking space or something like that, I usually get parking space right in front of everywhere I'm going. And it's because as I'm going there to get my parking space, I'm chanting. I'm chanting with the intention of opening up a parking space. I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be there. Sometimes I have to hit the block once or twice. But most of the time I pull up and somebody pulling out. I drive down the street and I look at my rear view, somebody pulling out. I just hit reverse and I get my spot. But that's Ayin. And so one of them is Om Ayin, Om Ayin. So that's the chant that I do. And I do it with the intention of opening up the space. Or if I'm trying to figure out some information, it's the same chant. Ayin. So there are very specific words of power to go with each one of those. That's some more advanced next level stuff. But right now we're just going to deal with breathing at a particular rate that you're comfortable with, that your licensed medical practitioner has cleared you to do. I am not that. And then visualization, where you imagine the different levels of, the different degrees of experiencing the thing that you're seeking to experience. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about any of this? time-tested tool. Thousands and thousands of years, millions and millions of people and civilizations all around the world do this as a way of life, and it works. So imagine, how did the first person know to look up at the sky to understand anything? How did the first person understand that red raspberry was a herb that does the thing that it does? If you look at what George Washington Carver himself said, he said he would get up before the sun rises and go off into the woods, and he would communicate with the plants. But he was in a very deeply meditative state. He was receptive. Remember, that left eye, or the vulture, was in a state of psychic receptivity. And so he was able to walk and receive information from other forms of life that gave him instruction and insight and intellect and information about how it can be used. And then he took it, internalized, and was able to do it. All of that was a function of his meditative state. It's a tool. Right? Anything? Y'all relax, y'all good? All right, cool. Well, once again, I thank you all. Definitely for the invitation to participate, and for, y'all paying attention and, showing up for sure.
Dr. Missy, thank you so much.